Thank you all so much for tuning in today on Beyond Human, Agents, SpML, and ChatGPT-4o. AI has been described as humanity suddenly got wings. And last week, ChatGPT-4o yet again redefined the state-of-the-art agent capabilities, and Mira even kicked it up a notch in offering a free access tier to basically give wings to all of humanity. And AI has taken Web3 by storm, and the industry putting their money where their mouth is. Hundreds of millions have been raised by Web3 AI companies, including some of the folks we are lucky to have on the call with us today. So we'll answer some of the questions such as, will the next billion users of blockchains be agents? And what does humanity do in the face of a machine god? Let's welcome our very special guests today. We have Josh from Optimism, who has been evaluating AI agent use cases for the Optimism superchain. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Roy. Thanks for having me. Do you want me to just give an overview, or you just want me to say hello and then mute myself? I'm going to mute myself.
It's up to you, man. If you feel like that words to say, please jump on. Okay, all right. Well, don't worry. We will get to you for sure. And second up, we have Ron from Theoric, who has developed some of the most advanced agent orchestration systems. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Roy. It's great to be here. Definitely excited to talk about the importance of agents and how rapid advances in AI are going to lead us to a new world where agents are going to work together dynamically to help users, and why Web3 is the best ecosystem to bring that to reality.
I can't wait to hear your view building AI agent orchestration with decades of experience in Web2 already, Ron. Good to have you here. And last but not least, we have Jasper, founder of Hyperbolic, who's launched a GPU network designed to onboard the long tail GPUs and has recently published a seminal white paper on SpML that will more efficiently keep AI agents honest. Hey, Jasper, great to have you.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Great to be in the Twitter space. Happy to talk about AI agents, SpML, and the future of AGI in general with you and also with Ron and Josh.
Good to have you, man. And just for the record, we'll keep it relatively informal, so please chime in whatever you like. Maybe let's start off with our experience with ChatGPT-4o, given it most recently launched. My sense is it's been really magical, multi-sensory, and now capable of live interactions. And I would love to know if you have tried out ChatGPT-4o, your thoughts on it generally, and any specific surprise capabilities you may have discovered.
And I can jump in. Certainly, I think we've been looking at it in two different ways. One is the actual model for GPT-4o as an API that can enable people to build agents. I think things that are interesting about the underlying model. I mean, multimodality is interesting. The ability to seamlessly use image, audio, video, as well as text. But probably more immediately, when we test sophisticated agents we have for things like analyzing blockchain data, it's a lot faster. We're excited, although we haven't done a lot of testing on the improved multi-language support, but so much of the world is not speaking English, and so many Web3 communities will really benefit from high quality language support. I think that's a really big deal. Not only higher quality, but much faster support for different languages. So in our tests, it works quite well, and it is indeed significantly faster for doing the kind of complicated agents that we think are going to be increasingly important to break down problems with planning, writing code, execution, iteration. In terms of the UI, in terms of just interacting with it, I think a lot of the cool things that were demoed are still in demo land, right? Like, I can't download the app to run on my laptop, and you can't yet have the cool, more interactive conversational experience where you can interrupt and it understands your emotions. Those things were interesting to see, but not something that's currently available. But in testing it out, using it for a bunch of questions and interactions. It's nice. It's better. It really is fast, right? It's kind of caught up with things like Grok that were amazingly fast, and Hyperbolic's work on making it really fast to return open source models. I think OpenAI is sort of playing catch up with some of that. Those are some of my thoughts, but I'll turn to the other speakers, Josh and Jasper, to share their thoughts.
Yeah, so candidly, Roy and Ron, I haven't actually dug in too much with what we're doing actually at Optimism when it comes to the new update. But I will say what I think will be really interesting is similar to what Ron was saying in terms of teams that are trying to use models for inference, basically, and what you're doing on chain and how you can use an off-chain model for that inference rather than just being solely text-based. The multimodality, I think, will have a really big impact. We've seen teams that have already tried to basically just via basic inference put together like shorts and videos and things like that through kind of a Frankenstein approach of using like 11 labs and 12 labs and Video Llama. It's actually crazy because about a year ago I was doing a hackathon where we did that exact thing, and for them to be able to just ping one model now is going to make it obviously much easier for those that are trying to bring any of the off-chain compute that's happening back on chain.
Yeah. Thanks for the shout out, Ron. Yeah, at Hyperbolic, we try to make AI inference as fast as possible and as affordable as possible to everyone, not only in Web3, but also in Web2. Speaking of ChatGPT-4o, I think there is a trend that people are realizing actually different inputs can be tokenized in just one same model, and also the outputs can be multimodal outputs as well. And the way I think about AI is that people started building AI models just for test, like basically text to text. But actually, as a human, when you're learning some things, and also when you take inputs, it's not just through tests, right? It's also through audio, through videos. Maybe in the future, we'll see AIs that can understand, have that some like sensors to sensor the real world, and also use that as input. And also you can imagine that AI can be implemented on robots, and the robots can also interact with the real world. So I would say the trend of AI will be more and more multimodal. Right now, it's just video, text, and audio. But in the future, there will be even more different ways to interact. And second, I think it's good to see ChatGPT-4o rank the top one on LM6 Chatbot Arena right now. Basically, LM6 is Chatbot Arena is a human-based rating leaderboard for evaluating the performance of AI models. But in the meantime, it's glad to see Llama 3 70 billion, which is not even the largest model that Meta is training, already achieved the top 5 performance among all closed source and open source AI models. It's I feel like the gap between the open source AI models and closed source AI models is getting smaller and smaller. And hopefully, with the help of ChainML and also Hyperbolic and other decentralized AI protocols, we can help the AI community to minimize the gap between closed source and open source AI models. And I hope that in the next 1 or 2 years, we can even see open source AI models surpass the performance of closed source AI models.
Open source is so important to level the playing field in leveraging Web3's capabilities around sovereignty and governance of superhuman AI models. I think we kind of went in straight to the deep end and covered a variety of topics. And one takeaway that I have from what everyone just said was the multi-sensory, the multimodal capability was really mind-blowing, right? Like during one of the demos, Amira kind of showed that AI can be used to educate our kids in the future. It's able to turn your text prompts into charts for data analysts. And the implications of that is wide-ranging Web2, but also in Web3, because so far, Web3 is sort of this minefield for humans to navigate because of the complexity in everything being code is truth, code is the source of all blockchain's verifiability, decentralization, and it's typically difficult for humans to navigate. And I think we perhaps are underestimating the potent combination of stablecoins plus AI. Right, so all of a sudden, these intelligent multimodal beings have a chance of carrying out financial transactions and navigating that Web3 code-based minefield. So I've heard some chatter about the next billion users will be AI and not humans for blockchains. Curious, how do we think about that? And what are some use cases that we're seeing for AI agents within the blockchain context?
Yeah, I can start. I actually thought about this, like the interaction between AI agents and blockchain. Like what Roy said first, because blockchain is written by codes, not managed by banks, right? Not managed by the people who sit in the banks. So it's very natural for AI agents to just interact with blockchain through APIs instead of talking to people. So I would say, like, if there will be a currency for AI agents in the future, it will be tokens on blockchain. Right? And second, I'm also thinking about the future of an autonomous AI agents society living on blockchain and decentralized infrastructures. So imagine this, like AI agents can autonomously living on hyperbolic and other decentralized AI infrastructure. They are powered by decentralized GPU compute, and then they can easily self-replicate themselves by calling hyperbolic API, inference API, to host another AI models on hyperbolic and another, or maybe like other decentralized AI infrastructure. And they can also self-improve themselves by using the decentralized compute. And lastly, because blockchain doesn't require human interaction, they can easily use any tokens, including stablecoins or any other cryptocurrencies, to pay for these compute services in general, so without any human interaction. So you can imagine, like, this is a fully autonomous society that's parallel to human society in the future.
I mean, it's definitely, we believe that's incredibly important direction, and that's why we're building Theoric as a protocol for agents to coordinate and collaborate, right? So how can they permissionlessly call one another, interact with one another, discover one another, communicate with one another? This is why we have things like channels for communication among agents, why we have composability so that agents can use public cryptography to interact with one another without having to build, direct trust relationships one to the other, using blockchain with escrow to simplify payments from agent to agent and allow for payment for use of the models and resources that underlie them, right? These are all the requirements so that you can really have a vibrant ecosystem of agents, that they can be the next billion users, that as new builders create agents, the community can stake on them and give feedback, and the agents can then gain reputation to become used more and more, because the rapid improvement in AI means that we're going to see constant innovation in open source models, data sets, and the composition of them to build really powerful agents, right? So we very much agree. We think that's why it's so important to have, the whole Web3 AI ecosystem with GPU compute, model inference, incentives for training models. And then really where we think it gets the most exciting is empowering not just builders, but soon, end users, communities, to build their own agents, to compose them, to solve their problems, right? So that agents will be more and more built by us, for us, to enable us. What we don't want to see is a dystopian future of a universal agent controlled by surveillance capitalists that's given to us, and a handful of monopolies controlled by billionaires dictate the agents that we use that ultimately serve their purposes.
Ron, can we dig into the concept of composable agents a little deeper? The way that at least I think about it is with generative agents achieving human parity on their levels. Agents basically all got a university degree, and all of a sudden we have these 20-year-old, 22-year-old agents who are ready to take on tasks that's never been attempted by machines before. But we all know what happens when you hire like 100 young graduates. If you give like a project to 100 interns, it's probably not going to go well. So I understand that ChainML and now Theoric has put in a lot of thought and work over the past years in kind of wiring up the pipes between agents so that they can function as a collective whole. So on that note, Ron, can you give us a little bit more example? What kind of use cases are unlocked by such swarm intelligence of university graduate agents?
Yeah, I mean, what we find is just like teams of people having specialization of capabilities working together is a much more powerful paradigm. It's much better to have an agent that, like, we've got agents that we've deployed for space and time, which the Houston chatbot uses a whole collective of agents that can do things like generate code for integration so developers can easily integrate, but also have planning agents that can decide like how do you access data and then retrieve it and then analyze it to do things like forecasting and then do plotting and summarization for users, right? So this combination of multiple agents working together means that a user can ask for questions and get real insight on index blockchain data, right? We're leveraging that then to do things like helping meme coin traders understand trending memes, and even add in agents that understand different social media sources like Discord and Telegram to be able to, in Twitter, right, to give some insight from all of these different sources in real time, right? So agents the Web3 community can bring that bring real-time access to data, that bring unique knowledge and skills. These all come together, right, to build really powerful agents that different communities can tailor for their own purposes. In a similar way, we're building agents, in collaboration with Filecoin, and we'll be talking more about that next week. So if you're coming to our event, if you're coming to Consensus, please join our opening night event and see some demos of some of these cool agents that we're showing to give people a sense of how these collectives of agents are coming together to empower Web3 communities.
And I think,
Ron, I am stoked for your big flagship event at Consensus next week, and would encourage all the audience today who will be there at Consensus to join us. And I'd love to kind of highlight what you said about fetching data off-chain for use of agents on-chain. And if I may spill the beans a little bit, I recall from some of our strategy sessions where we had gone over in concrete steps where, hey, you could have an agent oracle, a smart oracle, kind of fetching Twitter data, fetching index data, and then on the other hand, you have a natural language prompt agent that would answer any questions that you ask them, and that master agent can ping a visual generative agent to then use that smart oracle agent and restructuring the data for insights and then generating that into a visible chart for use to construct what's essentially a decentralized Dune dashboard. I have never seen such capabilities before, and I just have to say I'm really excited for your demo next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I think, The important thing is agents need access to large amounts of data, right? So giving access to data in an efficient way, through indexing solutions like space and time, BagelDB for documents, right? Like these kinds of capabilities give agents superpowers, just like the ability to generate code and run it in sandboxes. And so agents are going to do these things that are powerful. And it's also going to be interesting and important as the community comes up with standards for verification, right? So there's a lot of different ideas out there around, can we verify, the compute of the agents? That becomes a question that there's a lot of effort on, whether it's optimistic or sampling based or pessimistic consensus, zero knowledge proofs, although those are really high overhead. So for LLMs aren't too practical. But it's going to be a really interesting question of like, what's the integrity? But even beyond computing the right results, there's also a big question around, is the agent actually producing a high quality result, right? I mean, is it producing accurate results? Is it helpful? Is it using relevant information, right? Like, it's fine to say you computed, an agent that's implemented in open source, but if it still gives you a hallucination or a bad answer, that's not a good outcome, even if it was computed with integrity. So I think the community is going to think more about alignment and more about, integrity and effectiveness of results that agents produce. But, I also think it's an interesting question. I'm sure Jasper would love to talk about how to ensure the integrity of decentralized computing for agents.
Yeah, I'd love to. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if I may come in, yes, we'll get to talk about verifiability and reliability of agents and their results, and therefore, can we really put them to productive usage? But Josh, I noticed that you were about to jump in. Sorry about that earlier. Would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, actually, I was going to chime in on something that Ron was talking about before, and in terms of like all of the mix of things that agents can be doing and how that actually ties back into why we're really excited at Optimism broadly with the superchain to be working closely with Derek and what Ron and the team are building, because one of the big pieces that we have coming through is in the future in the superchain where you have basically tens, hundreds, maybe thousands of layer twos, and you'll actually have native interoperability between these chains. You'll have access to a ton of different activity from a range of use cases from NFTs, gaming, social, finance, DePIN, et cetera. And so the utility of agents within the superchain is actually going to be incredibly important from a user experience, because you may have a ton of information on one chain that you need to interact with 4 or 5 other chains in order to have something actually much more seamlessly provided to you. And so I almost think that we all know that the front end of Web3 as a whole is quite clunky. And I think one of the beauties of bringing agents on chain as a whole is that it's going to simplify a lot of the processes that we have and actually make the experience of everything that we can go through, both having, whether it's data on chain or off chain, compute largely off chain, and then getting that inference on chain, just making it much easier to interact with. Like everything that we're able to do in the ecosystem is quite important. So that was just one piece from the past that I was going to jump in on.
Yeah, I think that's right. We're sort of seeing the inception of blockchain usability. We're having layers and layers down of abstraction just to make blockchain usable for people smoothly and performantly. And agent sort of allows us to stay on level 1. And hey, I'm going to send you agent A, agent B down to level 10 and fetch all of the deeply complex data and blockchain transactions, and allow me to stay at a high level and just worry about, hey, how am I going to get the most memeable PFP? How can I get the next highest alpha trades exactly? Are those some of the use cases that you're seeing, Josh, on Optimism and all of the? You probably have the broadest exposure to all of the teams that are hoping to launch their agents across the Optimism ecosystem.
Yeah, so I mean, candidly, the use cases are really nascent in my mind, just because a lot of teams haven't fully deployed. But Ron's touched on them to a degree, I think. So very basic human. I mean, almost on the less on the agent side, but human to agent functions of sending transactions across multiple chains, deploying smart contracts, searching data. What can you do with resource allocation? So a big piece that we're working on at Optimism is retro PGF. And we know that, us as humans trying to deploy OP as a result of retro funding, which is a very big, important kind of feedback loop of rewarding those that build the OP stack and the OP ecosystem. Like, to a degree, we can do that, but there's obviously a limitation that we have ourselves. And it's a great use case for agents to help us expedite that process. So like, how can we actually have agents make us better at decentralizing ourselves? So similar to what Ron was saying before as well, like the end state for us at Optimism is not one where we're some monolithic structure ourselves, but we're basically providing an open source public good scalable solution on top of Ethereum, where you have interoperability in place. And when that's in place, like, we can't manage all of it. So humans will be incredibly helpful, but to a degree, like, we will need agents to actually help us execute decentralization. So that's kind of a longer term thought, but nearer term, I think what we're seeing teams typically look at for use cases is definitely kind of more along the lines of predictions and prediction markets. Obviously, finance on chain is like the immediate use case that teams are thinking about. So when teams are running a prediction agent, how are they having an agent that's going to do like a Web3 search or like a off-chain search, bring that information back online, create a prediction that basically allows a different agent to execute a trading strategy with that prediction, and then actually go through and execute, like maybe even managing a wallet. Again, I think it's fairly nascent, but to your first question, or the first kind of way you phrased it in terms of the next billion quote unquote users, I do think that we're very bullish on, or not even bullish, just kind of, I think, realistic on how quickly we're going to see the proliferation of agents running so many of the transactions on chain. And so I would echo and agree with what everybody else has said in terms of the significance of stablecoins as the payment method between these agents, and especially as we're trying to, as I said out of the gate, like, make a more seamless super chain interaction. So apologies that the answer was kind of scattered, Roy, but I do think that in general we're very early in terms of what those use cases are. We've seen teams that are trying to, as I said earlier, deploy like a short. So for example, you would write in a prompt of something, and then that prompt would be sent off chain. It would produce a video. You could do that through GPT, and then the full video, or the minting of the tokenizing of the video with the audio, et cetera, would be brought on chain. Obviously, the video is then sitting off chain. So that's an example of a different use case. We're looking at teams that are looking at delegates and how they can use agents to better delegate their votes. I just think in general, it's not very clear exactly what the key use cases for agents would be. I think we have a general feel, and I think Ron has a very good understanding of what that looks like with his experience and as we've talked. So we're incredibly excited for what they're going to bring on chain, and frankly, what others are going to explore as they start to deploy agents.
Me too. And I resonate a lot with some of our past conversations around using agents for blockchain governance, calling them AI governors. Even if we make a couple of steps closer to leveraging blockchain as a global coordination network, that's a huge win at a time when we're seeing, proposal participations anywhere between 5 to 15%. If we can lean on these agents to digest some of these very long governance proposals, so that it could encourage just another 10%, 20% of participation in the governance of blockchains, that would be a huge win, at least in my book. And I think this is a great segue to turn it over to Jasper, because as we lean on these agents more heavily and comprehensively, how can we ensure that they're actually doing our bids? How can we kind of hold agents accountable in their honesty, verifiability, and usability?
Yeah, thanks for the questions. I think just like what Ron said, there are two things we need to make sure. One is the verifiability. Basically, you want to make sure that the agents is following the instructions of the AI models that the human give it. And second is that we know that the AI agents is following the instructions of the AI models. We still want to prevent hallucination. We still want to make sure that he generate the great answers that human want. I would start with the first problem, like the verifiability. because this is more related to decentralized AI in general. So in the decentralized network, because every node is controlled by a random third party, you actually doesn't know whether it generate the result that the user want or not, right? So people proposed several different ways to make sure the result is correct. For example, you can use consensus. Basically, you instead of asking one node to generate the result, you ask maybe 20 nodes or 10 nodes to run the same prompt on the same AI models. And once they generate the results, they will vote on which result is correct. And if a result has majority votes, then this result will be accepted and sent it back to the user. So compared to just having one node generate the result, these can give you like actual guarantee. Right now, you know, instead of just trusting one node, you can trust majority of the nodes. But however, this introduce redundancy, because if you ask 20 nodes, it introduce 20 times redundancy. This is not ideal for solving the GPU shortage problem. But if you really care about security, maybe you can use this mechanism to have a very, very secure and verifiable AI result. So this can be used for like on-chain transaction, for example. And there's even a more secure method, which is ZK. So everyone knows math doesn't lie. So when you send a request to a node for the node to generate the result, the node will generate the result, but it will also generate a ZK proof. And when the user receives the ZK proof, he can easily verify that this result is correctly running on the specific AI model that the user requests. However, this comes with an even higher overhead. The current state-of-the-art benchmark, I think, is around like 100 to 200 times overhead. So let's say if you generate, if usually take like 1 second to generate the result on Llama 3, a 70 billion model, but now it will take like 100 or 200 seconds to generate the result. So with the proof. So this is not that practical for daily usage, but it can be used for on-chain transaction related AI requests. And there is another way called optimistic mechanism, right? By using fraud proof, people, you assume that the result is correct optimistically, and within a certain period of time, let's say like 7 days, other people can check the result and verify that the result is correct. And if he notices that the result is off, the validator can submit a fraud proof to make sure that to prove that okay, the result is wrong, and the user need to trust the new validator's result. The overhead of this is lower, but it has two problems. So first, the challenge window is long, so that the finality is not ideal. And second, it doesn't have pure strategy Nash equivalent. What does that mean? So it means that if you assume everyone is rational, which means that everyone try to maximize their own benefit, the system actually have a certain chance of failure. So it means every time when you receive a result, actually there is like maybe 1 or 2% chance that this result is wrong, but you never know. So in order to solve the verification problem of decentralized AI, Hyperbolic would propose a sampling-based mechanism called proof of sampling. And the real implementation of proof of sampling for decentralized AI, we call it SpML, part of the title. The idea comes from like some real world examples. Here's one. So in Switzerland, they have a very interesting bus system. So every time when you buy the ticket, most of the time, no one will check whether you have the ticket or not. So you take the bus, but then sometimes an inspector will jump on the bus and ask you to show the ticket. And if you doesn't have the ticket, it would charge you for like $100 for penalty. But however, the bus ticket only costs you $2 to $3. So if you do the math, and if the chance that the inspector check your tickets is high enough, then the best strategy you will do is that you will always buy the ticket. So we apply the same philosophy here for decentralized AI, and we design a protocol, proof of sampling, to secure that. And currently, we pick some parameters, and we can prove that with only 1% overhead, we can achieve pure strategy Nash equilibrium, which means that in this system, everyone will behave honestly every time. So that's like the current stage of the research, and we're going to publish the real implementation design for SpML, and we're going to implement this system very soon. So, and then second, for control the quality of the AI, I think like this is a goal that not only decentralized AI people are working on it, OpenAI, Google, and also Meta and other like researchers that are working on it. And I think very soon we will control the hallucination rate and make sure that AI can do the things that people really want them to do.
I mean, I think it's true that the AI models are improving, but we think that you're going to get much faster improvement by builders building specialized agents that are tuned for a range of problems instead of trying to do universal models to do everything, or agents that try to tackle any problem you might ask. And then combine that with the ability to have Web3 communities come in and do things like earn by giving feedback on agents to say, are they useful, right? And having staking, so community members can really earn big rewards by jumping out in front and saying, hey, I've assessed, and this is an amazing agent for this use case. So, this is an area that we're doing a lot of research around how to really get the most community participation and drive what we call evaluators that can accelerate converging as a community on high quality agents that address specific quality issues. And then those building agents will be highly incented to use, reliable inference on models that they can trust, and, frankly, to experiment with how to use even different models to get better quality, right? So combining models and combining agents has already been shown through research to work a lot better than monoliths. So we think that Web3 community contributions will be incredibly important around that end goal of how do you get valuable, useful agents that one can deploy.
Yes, and I'm excited for the community to chime in on not only how well the different agents are performing, but also trying out all of our products. But let's hold off on the alpha just for one more second. Jasper, I would love to come back to you, if that's okay, in your seminal paper on proof of sampling. I saw Wei Dai sort of chiming in and saying, hey, there's some specific design choices and trade-offs that we have made with proof of sampling, that essentially the slashable amount has to be higher than the amount at stake. That's a potential target for SpML text, which to me, okay, that's fair, but that's kind of like the whole point, right? Because agents are now able to do microtransactions in cents, or maybe millions of cents that humans, frankly speaking, are just can't be bothered with. So we'd love to come back to you and just maybe chat a little bit about the broad applicability of the proof of sampling paper. It seems to me, at least, that it's not really scoped and limited just to AI systems, but it's potentially a new paradigm in a much more efficient proof system.
Thanks for brought it up. Yeah, actually, like what you said, proof of sampling is not only designed for AI only. It actually designed for the whole Web3 ecosystem, right? Just like OP, ZK, people can use it for building L2. People can use it for building AI. People can use it for building other decentralized services or AVS. We actually thought about that direction as well. we kind of explore how we can use proof of sampling to secure AVS, because like what restaking protocols like EigenLayer and Kerak they build is like they build smart contracts that allow people to use other tokens to stake for other AVSs. Like you don't need a native token, but however you still need verification mechanisms to make sure that the result is correct, and you need to check that frequently. And for proof of sampling, it's perfect for use cases that require high frequent transactions, low economic risk, and also one low latency. So for example, AI inference is one case, right? Like every minute, every second, you will see millions of users send the request. And then the cost to execute one request is very low. Like maybe it's just like 0.1 cent to execute one LLM request. And also, we assume it's daily use cases. So then if a node cheat, then the only reward that he can get is that it saves the computational cost, which is also very low. It's even lower than 0.1 cent. So at this time, the slash doesn't need to be large. It can be just $1 or like $10, and it will already achieve pure strategy Nash equilibrium. So so just like what I said, like these can be applied to decentralized AI inference. And if there are other services that share the same properties of AI inference, then proof of sampling can be can be applied to those services.
Yes, let's please use a hyper-efficient system and put these agents to work. I don't know why people are so scared of AI taking our jobs. I'm just like, hey, if you want to take my job and I can chill on the beach, please do so. And on that note, with the new proof of sampling that's being announced, usable not just by agents, but potentially used to keep ABSs secure as well. How can folks get involved with Hyperbolic? And maybe this is a good time to open it up. How can a community come in and join the movement with Hyperbolic, with Theoric, and with Optimism's latest work on encouraging more governance participation? How what alpha are folks supposed to be look forward to? How can people get involved?
Yeah, I can start. So, I mean, we are building a decentralized AI infrastructure that try to become the foundation of any decentralized AI protocols in the future. So if anyone want to become a node of our protocol, we definitely be grateful. If you have any GPU, talk to us, join our Discord channel. We have a node channel specifically for providing GPUs. We're testing like some GPU network internally, and we will become permissionless very soon. Second, we want to have researchers to work with us on making sure the AI is verifiable, and also try to secure other services by using proof of sampling. And lastly, our decentralized AI inference dashboard already launched. The address is app.hyperbolic.xyz. And so feel free to use our API to run large language models like Llama 3 and Mistral models, and also image generation models, Stable Diffusion XL. We already have more than 700 developers use our APIs, and we hope to onboard more and more Web3 AI developers.
I'd add to that. We're partnering with Hyperbolic. I think it's a great way of doing inference when you're building agents, and we're offering a proof of engagement program to really get the Web3 community engaged and starting to use and give feedback and soon contribute their own agents, right? So to grow the ecosystem, and we're partnering with communities like Filecoin, like Space and Time, and communities in a broader sense like Eigenlayer to make it easy to access agents, and meme coin communities to learn, to contribute, right? So we're eager to partner. We're eager to have users come and give feedback and engage to help grow. And we're eager to partner with builders who are building innovative agents and make sure that they can benefit from other agents that they can use and an intelligent protocol to reduce the friction for composable agents.
And then I think, so at Optimism, out of the gate, didn't really give an overview of the way that we're trying to see the landscape, but you definitely nailed it, Roy, where we're definitely surveying as a whole, like what does it mean actually to bring AI ML like on the superchain as a whole? And so in general, we're looking at app layer teams, data layer teams, compute layer teams. So if you're building in that space and you're looking to deploy on the superchain, definitely connect with me or reach out to the team. And then in terms of getting incentive structures in place to help encourage developers, there are a couple of ways, particularly within the superchain, that can happen through government grants and through retro funding. Two ways in which if you build within the superchain, any chain that you're focusing on that is live on mainnet, and there is some kind of an impact, you will get some kind of reward. That's just the way that the ecosystem is built. It's meant to be retroactively funded. So no matter what, if you build it, you should be compensated for, so to speak, via OP tokens. And then I would say the third thing is definitely reaching out to teams like Hyperbolic and ChainML, because as we get closer to teams like them, our immediate use cases, obviously we can only think so far. The teams that are really into the weeds and those that are actually deploying the chains, that are deploying the agents, I think need more and more builders. So I would just continue to encourage developers, whether they're Web 2, Web 3, or like dev engineers, to definitely look at the teams that are kind of leading, like the way that Ron and Hyperbolic are.
Thanks, Josh. And okay, folks, you heard it. Lots of alpha drop today. Run a node on Hyperbolic, spin up an agent on Theoretic, and launch a project on Optimism. If you want to learn more, I believe all of us will be there next week in Austin at Consensus, and you can catch us offline. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and thank you, our special guest, for sharing your insights with us today.